Yo, yo, yo. We should be live. Just gonna tweet to let everybody know that I'm live. Fun fact, this is the first live stream that I've done in 6 months in the public sphere because all my other live streams have been in the Mars High Club AMAs. So that's a private stream that we do every week, but this is my first live stream to the public. So if you've been following my YouTube channel or my X, welcome back. I did live streams for around 2 years on Crypto Banter pretty much every single day, but I haven't live streamed in a long time because I kind of fell out of love with live streaming at a certain point, and I just decided to upload daily videos, which is what I've been doing. But because the market has so much going on at the moment, I definitely see the value in bringing the lives back. So if you guys enjoy these, I'm going to start doing these 1 to 2 times a week. And the format of this is going to be a bit different to like a market update show. I'm not going to come on here and give you like, a bunch of news or market updates. There are other great creators that are going to do that for you. This is going to be a lot more Degen. And the way I see this going forward is this is a forum for me to have a space to actually research new coins. So we're going to get onto Dex Screener today. We're going to look into new coins. We're going to look into some of the higher risk stuff. So, big disclaimer, don't just ape coins because I'm researching them, because I'm going to be answering questions as well. I'm going to be looking through probably a lot of trash and some good stuff as well. So it's going to be like a live research stream. And I'm also going to update you today on some of the big portfolio moves that I made, because I did make a couple of big trades that I shared this morning in the Discord. And then I have a couple of researchers joining me who are on my research team. These were the guys responsible for helping me find Useless at 30 mil before it ran to 370, Launchcoin at 17 mil before it ran to 350. So I'm going to have them on, and they're going to give their own alpha. So think of this as like the inaugural test stream for this format. And then on Sunday, if you guys like this, we will roll out more of a regular slot where maybe this is a little bit more planned, because I honestly haven't planned much stuff for this. It's just going to be more research and questions. But awesome to have people in the comments here. It's been a while since I've done this, so welcome everybody to the streams. I haven't gone live in a long time, but I think it's very cool because I can actually interact with the community. I can answer questions, and we have 1,500 people here live, which is very, 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 very cool. That is a big turnout for the first live stream back on the channel. So why not kick it off by looking at Ethereum, because that would be a great place to start, given the fact Ethereum is on a huge run. You can see on the 1 hour since it flipped the noodle in mid-July, it's just been going and going and going. We had a major breakout of this tipping point on the 16th of July from 3,000. It's run up to 3,600. I think Ethereum rallying is very good for the market overall. I did a few tweets this morning on this, how the reflexivity of Ethereum generally is a very good thing for altcoins. And historically, the major constituent of success in the altcoin market or altcoin seasons have been largely off the back of big Ethereum rallies. And you could see even this altcoin season index, which you've probably seen floating around on X, has actually ticked from Bitcoin season back up into the mid-range for the first time in a while. So we've already started to see the market shift momentum. Now, not everything is pumping. This is actually good news, because we want to see Ethereum lead. We want to see that liquidity flow from Bitcoin, because Bitcoin's been responding really well, to Ethereum, and then down into the majors. And today we actually see the majors up quite a bit. So this is a normal flow of funds for this stage in the cycle. I do believe we're going to see further upside on alts, but it's still the early stages overall if you do want to look at the mid cap and the low cap market, with the fact that ETH BTC has just started to reverse. So I think you, at this stage in the market, can still expect some pullbacks, because obviously, this is just when people are starting to crank up the leverage dial. So there's going to be some, flushes. I even think over the next few days, there might be some dips which actually give you an entry on some altcoins. We're going to be charting a bunch of altcoins today, and those would be the opportunities to actually start building some positions. I did a post in my Discord today that, apart from the 3 new positions that I opened this morning that I'm going to talk about very shortly, I'm not actually adding any net new exposure to the market today. I'm going to wait to see when the market consolidates over the weekend, because Ethereum has already run up massively. So what it can do, if you look at the hourly Money-Noodle, is come down for a test now. The Money-Noodle is an indicator that we use in the Mars High Club. It's a custom indicator. It can come down here and maybe retest for the first time over the weekend, potentially as a potential scenario, and open up some trading opportunities. I know the researchers have they're going to jump on the stream at some point here and talk through some of the trades that they're going to be taking. And yeah, I think this format's very good because we can have like lots of like guests on. So I can have low cap gem hunters on. They can give me their coins and we can kind of discuss stuff, argue stuff. The streaming format just opens up all that sort of stuff for me. So whether it's once, twice a week, we'll continue to do it in some format. So, all right, let's discuss what I did. The first thing I did was actually cut some of my pump fund. So you guys know, if you've been in my Telegram, that I was building a pump fund position. There were a few entries that I took. On the first day, I took one at 4.9 billion. This was very good because it ran up from 4.9 to 6.8, but I didn't take any profits because I was planning a multi-week hold on this. Then after creating a range on the 30-minute and the 1 hourly time frames, I actually added some more at 6.4, but I was forced to cut this pretty shortly after entering because it started to break down. As you can see, actually flipped momentum to the downside. And then this morning, we had a rally from 4.7 to 5.2 off the back of the new buyback and burn that they were doing for Pump, but then it instantly got faded. And for me in this market, I'm a little bit of a price action trader because I like to really see how the market is reacting to news. The market's reaction to news tells you everything that you need to know about a project, right? And when this rally started to fade, I kind of realized that the narrative here was a little bit cooked in the short term. Now, I still think midterm this can do really well. However, if it's going to be weak in the short term, and that's exactly what the price action is suggesting, you know, I don't want to be holding and waiting whilst other tokens that have really strong narratives go up and up and up. So something in the market that you have to understand is it's not just about making money, it's also about opportunity cost. Are you in the right tokens at any given moment in time to actually make profit in the market? And I decided with Pump that probably wasn't the case. So what did I do? I kept my first position, so my first third at 4.9. I'm going to hold this midterm just so I have some exposure. But I cut the second position around here, and then I cut the final position here for a small loss at 5.2. And what I did is I actually rolled that money because I didn't want to decrease my market exposure over this next little bit in the market. I rolled my money into some of the Ethereum betas, which are looking really strong right now. So I'll go through a few of them right now, and I'll go onto the weekly time frame. You're actually seeing a little bit of a sell-off in the short term, which is completely normal because, as I said, you know, the market might cool down now just for a little bit because ETH went on such a big run, and a lot of the insiders and, you know, the Trump guys may have been front running that trade a little bit, given the fact that there was, you know, many announcements which happened. Obviously, the Genius bill got passed, lots of the stablecoin regulation. We saw the SBET stuff as well. The retirement news that, I mean, all of this is super bullish midterm, right? But if you guys don't know, Trump's going to potentially open up access for retirement accounts to invest in crypto. But in the short term, I think, you know, people speculated on it, and now we're seeing, you know, a little bit of a sell-off, which explains a bit of short-term weakness in the market. But on the weekly time frame, what I really like off the back of Ethereum's big pump are some of the ETH betas. So looking at ETHFi here, which is an ETH staking platform, looking at ENA, which has previously, you know, been super reflexive to Ethereum moves, and obviously is reflexive to positive funding rates, which we have at the moment. Looking at Eigenlayer, which is now just starting to break out. I felt more comfortable midterm in these positions than holding Pump. So that's why I switched some of 3/4 of my exposure, or 2/3 of my exposure over. Now, keep in mind, some of these aren't actually confirmed breakouts on the weekly. We haven't had a daily candle close above for ETHFi. We haven't had a weekly candle close for Eigen, and ENA actually hasn't even actually broken that level. So if you are a really technical trader, what you would probably want to do is move down a time frame or two, maybe to the daily, and actually see if we can consolidate a little bit here and hold some momentum. Potentially something like this as we dip into this pocket. The Money-Noodle should theoretically come up as well, and then you should see some confluence to potentially get an entry on the daily time frame. And if you look at Eigenlayer as well, it's going to be a similar story, and also ENA as well. This one theoretically needs to actually confirm above. So my next entries with net new capital will be based on the technicals, but my first entry was simply a midterm narrative trade based on opportunity cost, because I think the ecosystem does well. And because we're not in this period of full alt season yet, because it's mostly, you know, just ETH and a few select narratives running, I think for this next little period in the market, the ETH betas do make sense. And, Ethereum as a trade also makes sense. I would just, because it's run up so much, try to look at some pullbacks. The time frame that's really working well at the moment on the noodle specifically is actually the 4 hour. I'm noticing this across Bonk would actually be a good example of how on the 4 hour you see it flipped on the 2nd of July. And since then you've had all these retests which have actually provided like good opportunities to get involved. So actually for Bonk, I do have an alert set on the noodle for a potential retest. This is where I would add more bonk. That's been a super strong narrative in the market, but as you can see now, it's just starting to cool off a bit, and that'll be actually probably the same approach that I end up taking on Ethereum. So if you go back to the ETH chart, obviously it broke out from this consolidation range that I highlighted last week, and we're probably looking for a bit of a cool down at some point and consolidation. We don't want to see this thing just blast off. We actually want to see it go through these little periods of consolidation. So, it fuels the rally. But overall, I feel pretty good about the market. But I'm still not, going crazy with leverage or anything, because I do think that there still will be flushes, especially at this point in the run. So I'm mostly managing my spot exposure and looking to capitalize on narratives that, have elements of outperformance. So let me go through some comments now to take a quick break and just interact with you guys. And then when I come back, I'm going to add Morpheus, one of my researchers, to drop some of his alpha. And then we have lots of other stuff planned. So what's the moving average in this? I'm getting asked. This is the Money-Noodle. This is a custom indicator from my Discord group, which is the Mars High Club. It's an amazing community. If you actually go down to the Traders Hub, you can see that we have Money-Noodle alerts. So we have bots and APIs configured, so you actually get alerted anytime a coin goes into the noodle. And this is a really good way to actually scan for new opportunities. So something I'll do quite often right now in this market, especially because the 4 hour time frame has a lot of efficacy. I'll go on to the H4 alerts, and I'll actually look at what is testing the Money-Noodle, because these are presenting a lot of opportunities in the market right now. But to answer how we created it, it's a little bit custom. We made some tweaks. So we dialed down the parameters on, it's like the 100 and the 200 MA, but it's slightly tweaked. We continue to make tweaks over time. So if you overlap like the 200 MA, it's going to look similar. But based on back testing we did, this one had more efficacy. And now momentum indicators aren't the be all and end all. It's not like, you just ape every time it hits the noodle. You have to go into the time frame and actually work out where it's respecting, because you could see in periods of sideways accumulation, the Money-Noodle has, almost no efficacy. Whereas in uptrending or downtrending scenarios, it's actually something that you can actively trade off in order to get entries. So you have to know, is the market in a downtrend? Is it in accumulation, or is it in an uptrend? In accumulation, you want to look at a ranging strategy. Even this was a short-term period of ranging. In an uptrend, especially macro uptrends, you can bid the noodle, and that's where it becomes a valid strategy. So it's a custom indicator to answer your question, Pad, but you could achieve a similar thing with the 100 or the 200-day moving average if you want. Thoughts on the gaming narrative? I was actually thinking about this in bed before. I know, super weird thing to be doing in bed. I was taking a nap before this stream because it's a little bit late in Dubai, just so I had enough energy. And I was actually thinking about this weirdly because I've been DCAing into a token called Black. It's Elio's new token. And I was just thinking about the gaming space. And it's kind of a weird space because even though we've had like off the grid, there hasn't really been, that AAA game which comes onto the market and has actually kicked off the gaming narrative. And it's not really something I'm too focused on right now, because here's the problem. And this is actually great alpha for you guys overall. The problem with waiting for a narrative or positioning too early in a narrative is by the time your narrative pumps, there might have already been another 10 trends which absolutely explode. So, okay, gaming could pump next January. Amazing. But if you're buying now in July, you might need to hold through 6 months of meme season, AI season, ETH season, Bitcoin season, AI agent season, XRP season, and all these other like mini seasons in between until you finally get to your gaming pump. So by the time your tokens do a 2x, you could have already been making 10x's, 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 5x, 4x's across like the rest of the market. So actually an approach that I'll take these days a lot more in my trading, especially a lot more than I used to, is I'll actually wait for the market to tell me what's pumping. Now, sometimes this means buying it a little bit high, but the trade-off for buying it a little bit higher is I actually have confirmation. So I'll wait to see the early signs of a reversal on a narrative, and then I'll actually position based on that. I'll position accordingly. So, okay, maybe that means I don't, get the exact bottom of every coin, but like look at Fartcoin here as an example. I could use any coin, but I was just clicking on this chart randomly. Like an example of this is like, all right, I'm not going to buy here. I'm not going to buy here. I'm not going to buy here. I'm not going to catch a falling knife, right? This is gaming right now. This is crypto gaming. It's going down. But when it starts to uptick and when it starts to break past critical levels, and you can identify what this is, is it respecting the noodle on the daily? Is there a key high time frame level like this one? That's a major pivot point. Once it breaks above and you have a bullish retest, this is basically like a deviation reclaim play or a support resistance SR flip, right? And these are plays which signal reversals in the market. So it's gone from a downtrend to an uptrend. So I might not get this bit of the move, but I'm able to capture the meat of the move. You don't always need to capture like this bony bit of the move, right? You can just capture the meat by waiting for a reversal and then getting in once the narrative has traction, once people are talking about it, once the mindshare metrics are up, and once the chart is actually up. So something that I've really put into practice in recent times is, accepting that, okay, there are narratives I'm really bullish on, but if the price action in the narrative isn't there now, I'll wait until I'm getting at least the early signs of that before I start seriously considering putting some exposure towards it. So that's basically what I'll use. Indicators called the Money-Noodle. It's available in the Mars High Club below. If you guys ask, I won't answer it too much on the stream, or people are going to get sick of me saying that. But you will see me use it a lot. But 200 day and 100 MA, if you're not a Mars High Club, also work for this. It's really just dependent on your strategy and which indicator the charts are actually respecting in each certain environment. Hyperliquid, yeah, let's chart Hyperliquid because this one's been really strong. I first got in publicly on the channel at I think $8, and then this run up to like $50, and it's been doing really well. I actually did my deep dive at $35, so this has been good. This is actually one where daily noodle retests are pretty much the bread and butter. So my next buy for Hyperliquid will probably be here. So there could potentially be confluence with the noodle and this zone here. You could even draw it on, wick high, which is probably a little bit better because that was the point where it's actually a really good setup for you guys. This is the bread and butter setup that Paradise, one of our analyst teachers, when price actually grinds up into a resistance level whilst respecting the noodle, that is classic bullish compression. And typically these moves, as like prices grinding up like this, lead to big expansive moves to the upside. And that's what we got on Hype, because like the pressure was building up and up and up. And then when it broke 24% to the upside. So these are setups that become very common in the market, and a lot of trading is actually just pattern recognition, and you'll start to see these patterns in the market. But with Hyperliquid, what I would try and do is wait for a pullback into this zone here. Potentially you'll have confluence with this $40 support level and the noodle, so a momentum indicator as well, and that would be quite a decent pull off from the high, like 17%, and from current levels it would be another 10%. So maybe ETH would need to chill for a bit or come down a bit for this to happen. But for me, yeah, I wouldn't be buying in here because this is like now starting to look a little bit bearish. There are a few coins where, momentum looks a little bit done for now. Another one is Useless. I'm a big fan of this token narrative wise, and I think this does really well as a top meme, but you could see it was, respecting the 4-hour noodle the entire way up. Like if you just bought this, like I remember calling it at, I think 80 million before it ran up all the way up here to 35 million on the show. If you were just buying this every time it hit the noodle, like you would have done really, really well. Like you could see there's like 10 entries up and up and up. At a certain point, it kind of reached a market cap where momentum started to fade, and you can see this is actually the first break. So it broke this support level, and then it's also flipped momentum as well. So for Useless, actually, this could be a deviation reclaim play, so it could do this and then flip, and then we look at a potential new entry. But this is a typical sign of exhaustion right now on the charts, and I would be targeting a little bit lower, potentially this zone here. I know this is a bit greedy, but yeah, 22 would be the level that I look at for Useless, and this would probably also correspond with Bonk coming down to this level as well. We don't really have any bases. Like a pattern I really like in the market is rally-based rally, but something like Bonk's just been going up vertically. Rally-based rally is basically where you rally, you form a base, you rally, you form a base, as you can see here. And then each subsequent move to the upside is actually another breakout. So you can see how that's a breakout there. This was a breakout here. This was a breakout here. But the latest base actually started to break down. So what we probably need to see on Bonk is a level like this being swept. So to actually form a new range low, see some sort of reaction, and then see how price actually reacts. And then you can just bid the lows, have invalidation below this level and the noodle, and then target the highs and then a potential breakout after that. So rally-based rally in a market like this is a pattern as well that you're going to see is really, really common in trending environments. The good thing is trending environments for uptrending coins are some of the easiest environments to trade in, because you always have invalidation to the downside whenever momentum shifts from bullish structure to bearish structure, which makes it quite easy. How about some new launches? Yeah, we're actually going to have a segment later in the show where I go through some of the upcoming TGEs that I'm very interested in, because something that I think is quite profitable in this market is to actually look at the new TGEs, so track them and then actually put them on your calendar, because when they launch, there's this fractal that always plays out. I'll show you what I did on Black. This is Elio's new token that I've been averaging into, and this is something that I highlighted in the Discord. That's where I post all my early alpha, by the way. Unfortunately, I can't live stream 24/7 on YouTube or X, but something I do is in the Mars High Club, whenever I open a trade, I share it with you guys first. And in the AMA last week, I highlighted to keep your eye on it. And then when it launched, I posted this, and you could see this fractal that started to form. And then I took a trade on this, announced it in the Discord, and then it went up 87%. So this has been a very good trade. Covered my losses on pump and some, but the real alpha here is the fractal of a lot of the new launches. So this actually played out really quickly. Sometimes this takes longer to play out, but what happened is it wicked up, right? Then it comes down. That's usually what happens. You get a crazy wick when a project launches. You can almost ignore it in subsequent PA. Then it starts to form a range. So you form a range low, which was here, and then you form a range high, and then you have like a point where it breaks. So typically you get this sell-off, pump, then it chops sideways, and then you get an explosion to the upside. And this happened really quickly because this is on the 15-minute chart. Sometimes that's the case. Sometimes it takes a little bit longer. This can happen on like a daily chart or a 4-hourly chart and actually take weeks to play out. But you'll often see when tokens have big launches or airdrops, like a sell-off, accumulation, and then a big pump. So Black I still actually like, but I'll only be looking to get pullbacks on this. They're paying insane APRs, so I think a lot of people are just buying in to actually stake the token. But this launched way too low. Like, I didn't know how it was at a 28 mil market cap. So I bought some of that yesterday and did quite well on that so far. But the token I'm being asked about is SAHARA. We will talk about some of the upcoming launches later, because as I said, you can play that fractal to make money on new launches. But this was a new launch that I was keeping my eye on, which was SAHARA AI. They're backed by a lot of big players. I like them fundamentally, but I mean, it was just in a downtrend, right? So same as Black, it has this big wick at the start. It comes up and then it starts to consolidate. Now, what Black did is it eventually just like popped like this. But this one's taking a little bit longer. And for centralized exchange alts, you'll notice they do take a lot longer. So Black was an anomaly that the fractal played out so quick. So SAHARA, you see this huge pump, and now you're starting to see it come down into an interesting pocket where you now have a little bit of data. So you have the first moving averages start to come in. So the H1 and the H4. You typically only want to pay attention to moving averages, by the way, if they are actually being adhered to. Like, you see, it's just chopping through this. So why would I pay attention to it on the 1 hourly? On the 30-minute, it's also just chopping through. Why would I pay attention to it? On the 4 hourly, however, it has a little bit more validity, because you can actually see it's respected it bearishly, and it actually respected it bullishly on the flip. So thus far, and you'll continue to get data over time as this token matures, the H4 is the level that I'd use. But even without the indicator, you can turn it off. You could simply try and look at like the base. So what is the range low? There are 2 levels for that. This level here, and then this deviation low here. And price is now starting to come back down into the previous support zone. So your bid zone would essentially be here, right? This is your range low bid zone, that if the token had some sort of reaction in this level, you should see a push up. Your first TP is at the previous high, and then potentially you would see a continued move to the range high. This is typical price action that you can pay attention to. And obviously, if you're going to open a position at range low, you have to be prepared to cut pretty quick if momentum starts to fade. So every single trade in this market right now, every single trade, I'm opening with invalidation. Doesn't matter if it's a midterm trade. Doesn't matter if it's a short-term trade. The only exception would be super long-term stuff. But to be frank with you, I don't think we're in the super long-term stage of the cycle. That was valid in 2023, potentially valid 6 months ago. But now, because my outlook is, maybe 6 months to 9 months of further upside, something in that range. That's been my prediction since the beginning of this year. I'm not really comfortable, getting into long-term positions. So for that reason, yes, I might hold something midterm, but I want to have invalidation on it because it's not long-term enough for me to just say, I'm going to buy and just see what happens. That's not the stage of the cycle we're in. So yes, this sometimes means I'll get faked out where potentially I enter something, it wicks below, and then, I get invalidated and have to re-enter. But I would much rather have to re-enter a coin even several times to get the right entry than be stuck back holding something that round trips and goes to zero. So something I'm being very strict on is before I go into any trade, I have a predetermined invalidation. I honestly think that's more important than having predetermined TPs, because TP zones will change based on market conditions, based on momentum, based on volume profiles, based on a reaction to a zone, whereas at least invalidations, they cover your downside and then you can let the upside do the rest. So I think that's a really important concept to have in mind going forward. All right, getting asked a lot of coins here. So let me just go through some rapid fire things, and then I'm going to get Morpheus on to share some of his alpha that he has prepared. So will you enter back into Pump? Yeah, absolutely. I'll enter back in. I just didn't want to hold it midterm given the opportunity cost of, missing some of the other coins in the market, but I will definitely be trading this based on technicals. And the good thing is, since it's a newer coin, it should theoretically respond to technicals. And I think a lot of people are trading this as well. But right now you can see this is just a classic downtrend. So the first thing I want to see is this level actually be reclaimed. This is the key level right now. So could this be deviation reclaim? That's also a setup I like to trade potentially. But even if it is, so deviation reclaim, I need to look to see how this 4-8 to 5 level reacts for a potential inverse head and shoulders play to take us back to the 5-6 level. Could also reflect as a cup and handle depending on what you want to call it. But the main thing is this level here. Then you can also draw it slightly higher, depending on whether you take the body or take the wick. Sometimes just to make it, even clearer, I'll just draw the general range like this. This level actually really needs to flip in order to get pumped back into bullish territory. But that could take some time now. So that's the reason why I'm not in it right now. I still have one of my positions, mind you, but that's why I'm not in it with the other 2/3. And I'll happily re-enter on a trade. So yeah, that answers that. By the way, it's not going to be possible to answer every question here, obviously, because it's a public stream. But I'll try my best to answer some, and then we'll do a dedicated towards the end of the stream, low cap hunting little session that we do. LMT. LMT is an interesting one. This was one of my best trades in Q4. Absolutely exploded in Q4, but it has been slow. On the fundamental side, I am waiting on actually using their product. Let me just go on to TG and see if I have any updates there, because I don't want to. Wow, I can hear myself. I don't want to speak. Yeah, they haven't responded regarding their product. So the next thing for me is actually testing the product. So I wouldn't buy anymore until I've tested it. They have a desktop agent protocol, but I know they have big backers, which I haven't announced. So at some point, this could potentially run, but I won't personally be positioning this until I hear more on that front. That's something I'll update the Discord on when and if I get that information. Until then, I have a bag that I accumulated at the lows, so I'm just waiting and going to see what happens there. All right, let's go through some more questions. XRP. I mean, let's. I wouldn't buy XRP here. I mean, maybe Morpheus has a different opinion to me. I mean, actually, he was in a trade yesterday, but this has absolutely exploded. I mean, if you look at the, I mean, this is a classic range as well. This was my old chart actually. The XRP TA is absolutely on point. So look at this. You're in this ascending channel for pretty much years and years, 5 years, and that's what made the XRP people go crazy, just to chop sideways for so long. Then you saw massive expansion, then consolidation. The funny thing, and I didn't actually trade this, I don't know why, but you could have played this range high breakout because it actually gave you 2 clean retests. And I mean, you wouldn't have captured the full move, but you would have captured a 25% move. And then the other thing you could have probably played was the range as well, because it had really strong support at the bottom of this range. This is a classic, this is a very extended range, but this is bread and butter range trading. You do all your business in the extremities of the range. So you do business buying at the bottom of the range, you do business selling at the top. And then if you do end up getting a break, then you could potentially flip bullish. So you might even sell here into resistance, and then on a flip, re-enter with your stop loss below the previous wick and run up the rest. But this is in price discovery now. So bit of alpha for you guys, because Bitcoin also did this. After you break out of a big range, instead of buying up here, what you do is you look for a new range base to form on a lower time frame. So you'll move down from 3-day or 1-day, now down to 4-hour or 1 hour. Even 1 hour is probably better for this. You'll use a moving average for some more confluence. It's not really adhering to 1 hour. 4 hour it might be, but we don't have enough data yet. So not enough confluence on that just yet. And you'll actually look to see if these bases form. So this could be a potential base forming on XRP now, and then this is your high. And the way you play it is basically if you get to the lows, so you need to find out whether it finds a floor. If it does and bounces, then the next time it goes down, you bid until proven otherwise. And then you also play the range high breakout accordingly. So you've got two choices when it comes to these bases that form. Either you can bid the lows, which I like doing, and then the other 50% of my size will be bidding the breakouts, because these take you up to the next range. But I don't know if it's actually going to form like that. It's just an example of something that can happen, but that's the only way I'd trade something after breaking out on the high time frame. I'd start high time frame, and then I'd work my way down onto low time frame. Mars, this is my first cycle. What do you think will happen in the coming weeks with ETH and alts? Do you think we'll see corrections in August before returning in Q4? Yeah, I think we'll see a bit of a short-term slowdown, just given the fact that, we've already run up really aggressively on Bitcoin and ETH. I actually think we might see mid-caps do well, and you'll also see some select alts really outperforming. Like even today, as I go through my watch list here, like, Doge is popping and some of the AI coins are popping and some of the agents are popping whilst other coins go down. So it's still an environment where there isn't enough liquidity coming into the altcoin market to make everything pump, but select altcoins within the broader market, like, these little pockets of outperformance are starting to appear. And then you'll have some leaders like Bonk and Useless actually selling off whilst ETH betas run. So it is still a market of like there's not enough liquidity for everything to pump. So you have these like little sectors which pump and actually outperform. So just keep that in mind right now. It's still not that big bull run. It's still extremely secular in the current environment. But in terms of what's going to happen, I think we will see corrections along the way, potentially some violent ones, just given the fact that as the leverage dial gets cranked up, and I'll actually go into Velo and we can take a look at what the leverage profile is looking like and the open interest across the market. This is actually a good chance to get some entries. But the good thing is, right, I still think Ethereum's going to all-time highs. I think it'll go to 4.5, 5K, potentially even this year. I still think Bitcoin's going higher. So as long as you have that anchor, that means we know that alts are going to do well, at least the strong alts. So until Bitcoin and ETH actually hit their high, you can, I think, in this paradigm, bid pullbacks until proven otherwise. So that is going to be the strategy that I implement with invalidations. I'll be bidding pullbacks until proven otherwise. And if this cycle plays out anything like previous altcoin runs we've seen, these pullbacks are usually the best entries to reload on alts before further legs to the upside. So just keep that in mind. We will get flushes, but I still think over a 6-month time horizon we end up much higher on Ethereum and Bitcoin because of a multitude of catalysts, regulatory catalysts that we're seeing with the Genius bill, with the retirement accounts, with a lot of positive news coming out of the White House. The ETH ETFs are having record days, which is very good for the passive bidding of these alts. We have SBET, which is the ETH treasury now, starting to buy ETH, and we're seeing like that really strong ETH narrative starting to come back. Money printing's crazy, potential rate cuts, maybe Jerome Powell leaving, like all of these, factors are culminating in a good environment for risk. Now, yes, a portion of this gets front run. Obviously a lot of this stuff is already news, right? So the market's already pricing it in, but because some of this stuff actually structurally impacts the demand side, I think that there's still further upside until price action tells us that there's not. I still think there isn't. I mean, that's been my plan since the start of the year. Like, we're only in July now. So this is like the appetizer in some way. Like, I wasn't actually expecting a new Bitcoin high for a little bit later. Obviously, summer's always choppy. June was choppy. The beginning of July was choppy. But I wasn't expecting like a strong Bitcoin run like we had maybe until August, I think I said on my last show before I went away. So this happened a bit earlier than I thought. My plan was always that like November, December, January, we'd be actually peaking in the market. So we're well on time. We're well on track. And we actually still have time. So there's no need to like FOMO and go crazy now. You're not going to miss the move. In fact, the biggest opportunities are towards the end of the run. So wherever the market peaks, whether it be, December, January, November, that will be the period with the most opportunity. Even think about November, right? If we go on to, I think some of you guys liked my last show where I talked about the others chart. If you actually go on to others BTC, I think this is a great representation of just actually how markets work. You can see that here last November, when we had that big run, I mean, I remember getting into multiple 5, 10, 15x coins. It was an absolutely crazy period in the market. The AI agent season had happened after the market had already topped. So this peak here was technically at the start of December. Yes, we saw a big sell-off, but this period here, late December, I remember making crazy gains. And even in January, before Trump coin launched here and kind of, caused the death of alts for 6 months. Even in this period here, like this choppy period, I remember still doing some crazy stuff with agents, and we had like the meme coin run. And so all of this stuff happened even after the peak. So even, and I can extrapolate this back to 2021. The market peaked in November in 2021, but I remember printing on Luna and Phantom in January and Feb. Technically, the market had come off its highs, but the strong narratives still had enough juice in them to actually outperform, far beyond the peak in the market. So, needless to say, if the market actually peaks in December, it doesn't mean you need to time the top, because there'll still be opportunities that linger. Obviously, you want to de-risk progressively heading towards that point, so you have capital, but there'll still be opportunities in Jan, Feb, and March. They just diminish, and then at a certain point, everyone realizes it's a bear market, because the first dip, people think that it's in fact, even 2021 would be better to exemplify this. The first dip, people think it's just a bull run dip, and you'd be completely right for thinking that, because it had been the previous 20 times. And then the second dip, it starts to become more real, then the third dip, then the fourth dip, and then eventually everyone realizes it's a bear, and then it's a self-fulfilling prophecy. But the good news is you'll actually have time, I think, to make moves and make adjustments. And the other point I want to make, which I made on the show, was like, all this happened in such a small amount of time in November, but remember all the big opportunities. So this was only 30 days from the trough to the peak. And in that 30 days, there were multiple 10x opportunities. So all we actually need is 30 days of bullishness in the market, but we're staring down the barrel of maybe months of bullishness in the markets, obviously with, drawdowns in between. So that is a pretty scary proposition, because this run here, where all this crazy stuff happened, culminated in us not even breaking the downtrend in others BTC. So what actually happens if we do break the downtrend in others BTC? Like, just getting here would already be fireworks for altcoins. Just getting back to resistance, let alone what would actually happen if we broke. Imagine if this was a break and we got back to November levels, then this leg would be absolutely insane for alts. Contextualize this. Like, if this is the altcoin move, right, that happens, all we've seen is this. Like, that is a very small, that's only 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 eyeballing it. 1/7 of what the eventual move would be. Even if it's here, it's only like 1/3 of the move in terms, and that would just be going back to resistance. And I think, we have enough catalyst now to actually go a lot further than that. This is the others BTC chart, by the way. So yeah, I think we're basically, what I'm trying to say by answering this is we're still relatively early, even though that doesn't mean, FOMO and go crazy. I think we're still relatively early. Brian says summers usually suck. Then again, we've never seen some of this bullish in the US Gov passing crypto bills. Yeah, it's completely unprecedented. And I think you kind of have to reset your framework a little bit, given how unprecedented it is. Lindsay says summer's usually bad. Was not expecting this. Yeah, I also wasn't expecting it this soon. I did remember saying that I thought people would front run Q3 a bit, because like, people know that summers are bad, right? So if everyone knows summers are bad, well, then maybe summer actually is okay at a certain point, right? So I think that would have been front run maybe in August towards the end of summer, but it happened even earlier in July, kind of getting double front run, but obviously catalyzed by a lot of the crypto bills. But Bitcoin, I don't think ran on the crypto bills. I think that just ran because stocks were breaking out. It had been coiling up for a while, and there's just too much buy pressure on Bitcoin and not enough supply. So classic supply squeeze there. Don't need a 50x. You'd be cool with a 10x. Yeah, and that's probably the better way to go. I'm cool with a 3x with size. This is something also a lot of people, yeah, I guess 50x, 100x's are the holy grail. Like, I caught 100x on Pepe, and that's like the holy grail of trading. But sometimes catching like a 3x on a coin with liquidity, size, and like a confirmed narrative is better, because to catch a 100x or a 50x or a 30x, you need to get into something like really low where like there's definitely a large chance, like a not just non-zero, like probably a 30% chance it goes to zero, right? Whereas making a 3x on a coin where there's only a 5% chance it goes to zero and there's better risk reward to the upside, sometimes that's even better than hitting like a bigger multiple. So don't let multiples get to your head, because if you're able to put in, $5,000 into a coin that 3x's with confidence, this is better than putting in like $10 or $20 into a coin that you have no confidence in that ends up doing a 50x. So it's that whole like liquidity size versus risk reward thing. Someone here says not any of these coins will 50x. Well, we put that in the title, but it's for a reason. We're using that title because this is an altcoin hunt, and I wanted to start this by doing a market update for you guys. But in the second hour or the second 50 minutes, we're gonna get more Degen and start looking at some deck screener stuff and start hunting some altcoins and adding some stuff to our watch list. So since this is like my inaugural stream, coming back, like my return to live streaming, I wanted to like do a bit more of a lengthy introduction. But going forward, once you guys are familiar with the format, it'll just probably be a bit more Degen, especially if the market allows for it. Right now, it's not really on-chain season. There are some interesting stuff running on-chain, like we had the AI companion, some stuff that we'll talk about later, but it's not a full-fledged on-chain season. But when that comes back in the coming months, I imagine these streams will be quite hectic. Like imagine if we were doing these back in November. That's when stuff really, really got crazy. Someone says more Degen. We'll get to that. Return of the Mars. Yeah, it's great to actually be back and do these live streams, because I can actually answer questions and interact with you guys, which is cool. Arden's asking about Anon. Yeah, let's shut Anon. This is one that's been quite weak, so I probably wouldn't add just purely based on price action, but I do hold a bag long term because I still think Danny will push this thing at some point. So where's should we hate Anon? I hate how it gets the wrong pool, because this is the Uniswap pool, not the WAGMI pool. But look, it's back above $3, and I'm actually going to delete a lot of stuff on this chart because it's messy. It doesn't always adhere to TA too well, this coin, but you have this level here, which it broke below. You also have these lows. I would say this is the low, and then this is it's actually compressing at the moment. You can see if you want to draw like a diagonal line like this. I don't really trade breakout diagonals, but I do use them as a frame of reference. So this is just consolidating, primarily off the back that the narrative isn't that strong right now for Anon. But it's a coin that when it runs hard. In April it ran from 290. Everyone thought it was dead again. Remember this? All of a sudden to $8.90 or $9 on the Kraken listing. So I'm sure Danny has stuff up his sleeve, and for me, this is just one I'm positioned in as part of like my riskier midterm portfolio, and then at some point hopefully it does well. I still think they've built a really cool product, but yeah, I wouldn't be trading it here. Or I mean, you could buy, but you'd need invalidation below. You need invalid like 270, 280, quite tight, because what you don't want to do is hold it if it starts bleeding out. But it looks relatively bottom to me based on the chart. Thoughts on Pepe? Someone said Anon falling wedge. Yeah, it is. However, well, not exactly, but kind of looks like that. But the price action on-chain coins is not the same as centralized exchange coins. And this is where you also need to be careful. Like you can't chart something. I know it's on Kraken, but still, like it doesn't have that volume of like something on Binance or Bybit Perps where like everyone's trading it. Like large caps, the reason why TA works, like Pengu, everyone's charting it, right? So everyone's got the same ideas, and that's why price front runs and reacts to certain zones. Whereas like on-chain coins, you can use TA to have like TP zones and validation zones, but it's super hard to actually chart that because TA like stops working. It basically TA works because everyone's like paying attention to it. It kind of stops working when like it's an on-chain coin and liquidity is doing most of the talking, right? So yeah, it's still good for price action. Like I'll still chart low caps because it gives me some sort of like mental assurance. It's kind of weird, this like weird comfort that I've like got some predetermined levels there, but it's definitely not the be all and end all on the low cap coins. But what was I gonna chart? I was gonna chart something. Pepe. Let's chart Pepe, because Pepe is one of my most beloved coins historically, being my first 100x. But I was actually interested in another entry. This is something I talked about on the stream with Paradise. Let me just reset my chart a little bit here. I think, right, you guys want to know a fun fact? Pepe has never seen an ETH all-time high because ETH all-time high was in 2021 and it launched in May 2023. So actually this run here was on ETH's lower high. So Pepe being the main ETH meme coin beta, like imagine what would happen at an ETH high, which I think we're getting. So I think Pepe actually can go back to all-time highs. And I think the chart actually looks quite nice. But I would definitely play the technicals on it. This is a coin where you can play the technicals because, more people are paying attention to it, more liquidity. You can see this is like the key, like mid-range pivot. It is an annoying coin. It's like a choppy coin to trade. It's not a trending coin. So the issue with, it's only just started to trend upwards. The issue with coins that aren't trending is you can't play like the same game as you would on other coins like Bonk right now. But what you can play is the other high time frame retests. So I would basically play Pepe like this. I would play any major pullback. So if it like pulls back into this zone here, or if it continues to the upside and then it comes back to this zone and starts to form a base, I would play wherever it gives us like a consolidation zone after a pullback. That's where I would bid. But look, you can even DCA now, if you just want ETH beta exposure, but it'll be a slow burn. Just keep that in mind because it'll run towards the end of ETH's run. So as I mentioned before, like the reason I sold my pump was because of opportunity costs. So Pepe might not actually explode until ETH puts in a high. Now, if ETH puts in a high in December, Pepe's big run could be in January. So you happy to hold 6 months? That's a question you got to ask. Or it could explode sooner. And then, if you're not positioned, you run the risk of not being exposed. So it is a balancing act, but the reason I'm playing, the technicals more on this, or at least waiting for big dips, is I want to give myself every fighting chance of having the best risk reward possible on the trade, given the opportunity cost constraints of, missing other trades in the interim by being locked up capital wise in one position here. Now that the market's heating up already, did you change your mind on the potential? I don't even know what that means. Plaque of the market now. What do you mean by that? Re-ask that question of the potential what? Unless I'm missing something. Any thoughts on Sonic? Let's look at Sonic. I got to get rid of my drawing. Some of these charts are super, super old. And this will be on the daily. This is a Binance chart, though, which I like. Yeah, Sonic actually had a reversal. I'm actually still farming a lot of Sonic, but I'm not really trading it right now because I don't think the narrative's super strong. But I know Andre's teasing like this new DEX. Potential, what I would want to see on Sonic? Something like this. I want to see it like a further squeeze to the upside. Then I want to see it come down, retest this level. And at the same time, adjacently, I want to see this come up. And I want to see some sort of bullish formation like this. That's potentially where I'd enter a new Sonic position. For now, I have enough exposure. That's airdrop farming. We should get details on that very, very soon, by the way. What's happening with checks? We talked about this on stream with Paradise 2 weeks ago. Yeah, it's just at a major support level. And RWA right now isn't that hot. Like even Syrup, the biggest runner, has started to cool down a little bit. I know C-Pool's doing really well off the back of Becca, but this is just consolidating now. It was disappointing to see it break down. Like we actually did spot this in the Discord. If you're in the Discord, this break to the downside. This is why it's really important. I'll go into the daily chart to have invalidations even on low time frame, because I'll show you the level. It was this level here. There was like a support zone. You have a break. You have a bearish impulse retest. I actually cut a very small amount of my position here just to protect a little bit after this bit here. I wasn't a big fan of that. And then the other level that has been significant resistance for the coin is that 27-cent level. So it was in a range for some time, just chopping, and then it broke down from the range, de-risked a little bit, and then it actually came back to a high time frame low. This was the first low that I ever bought at. My first buy was 12 cents, and then obviously it ran up ridiculously hard to like 80 cents. So, I ended up making money through taking profits, not fully at the highest, but on the way up. I still have a decent bag of this, so I think it does do well at some point. I know the team's still cooking. So fundamentally, I don't think anything's changed, but definitely price action wise, momentum hasn't been there for RWA. And there was also, in my opinion, this is something I spoke about in the Discord AMAs a couple of times, but in my opinion, on the Kraken listing, there was potentially like someone selling. I don't know whether it was the exchange, but what does happen is people will front run big exchange listings and then actually sell. And we saw the same thing on Anon when it got onto Kraken. So this is why I think there might be a bit of a trend here. It gets listed and then it dumps after the listing. So I don't know if it's the exchange getting supply and then dumping, whales front running and then dumping, but it's a very common trend. It's happened on many coins. They'll get exchange listings and then they'll dump, because exchange listings, retail buys in thinking it's bullish, but actually the insiders have known about it for weeks, or the exchange has liquidity, which they then sell once it launches. So I don't know exactly what happened there, but it seems to be a trend across the market where listings, especially on smaller exchanges, end up being bearish. And not just that, even perp listings on Binance end up being bearish. So you're actually got to be careful when these tokens get listed on exchanges. Someone says checks in trouble. From a technical level, this is actually a strong demand zone, so you wouldn't panic unless it broke 10 cents. Then maybe. Worthless coin. This is like the useless coin spin-off. I'm actually going to talk about some of this stuff with my researchers later. Checks in bear territory. Yeah, I mean it's in a bear trend. Not every coin is in a bull trend. So some coins are running now and look really strong, and some look weak, and that's just down to the fact there's not enough liquidity to have the entire market strong right now. So that's why, once again, I have a lot of my new capital concentrated into trading the strong narratives, and my core portfolio is actually quite small compared to what it used to be. Like, just to list some off the top of my head, like long-term meaning till the end of the cycle or potentially beyond. Like I have some Tau, Solana, a bit of ETH, Bitcoin, Hyperliquid. I have a couple like longer term or mid-term bets which I'm holding. Like, I have Syrup checks. I have Tau, WorldCoin, Anon as some of my AI coins. Like, these are like mid-term things I'll just hold, and I'm not really fussed what happens. But then the rest of my portfolio, like, that wasn't my full portfolio, by the way. I have some more things as well, but just off the top of my head. And then the rest of my portfolio, I'm like pretty adaptive with. Like, I'll hold stuff midterm if the chart just keeps going up, right? And I'm riding the trend. But if something starts to break momentum, I'll look at shifting out of it and getting into new coins. So treating this part of the cycle a little bit more adaptively than maybe what you would in like 2023, where you just set like a DCA TWAP and then just like bid. So just trying to make that clear distinction between like what I'm holding short term versus long term. Okay, Morpheus has some alpha on Sonic. He's going to give you in a minute. Syrup, I'll get him on after this because there's plenty of stuff to still talk about it. I don't want this to be hours and hours and hours, although it is the first stream. Syrup broke down from this level here. So this was a support zone I highlighted earlier in the week. So yeah, this looks quite bad now, actually. I'm not gonna lie. Next, I mean, it could just be deviation. Like, so what often happens with these coins is you'll see like you'll see price do something like this, and then actually end up reclaiming. So it could just be like a deviation play, but I don't like it. So I actually exited the most of my position on the breakdown, I think, of this range high. So I haven't been in for a while. I've been updating the Discord about Syrup. In my Discord, by the way, I have a coin updates channel where you can actually search like a coin. So Syrup from Deutscher, and then you can actually see whether I've spoken about that coin. So I give many updates. So yeah, like spot levels to add, invalidations, weakness, pulse checks. Like here, I said I wanted to see how the price reacted to this zone. I did make one spot bid, which I cut, as you can see here. So this is basically how you see all the updates on any coin from me. And then I have a coin updates channel where it's all consolidated. So you can actually look at some trades. Like Fluid was a banger trade. I shared this in the Discord at 3.9. I said it looks like a decent long. And then now it's ran up to actually 650. So almost a 2x there on Fluid. That's actually quite a good coin. It's an ETH beta, but obviously ran up a little bit too much now. Bonk falling into the noodle. Yeah, we're seeing a sell-off market wide at the moment, which actually makes sense. This was one of my premonitions going into the day, actually, that we're going to see a sell-off. And that's actually why I said in the Discord that it's gut feel not a day to add new positions, just keeping the same exposure by rotating. So, maintain net exposure today, as opposed to like adding more. And I'll add more if the flush gets a bit deeper, but just going to have to play that on the low time frame. So Bonk coming in on the 4 hour. Yeah, it is, but you want to see a reaction. So I don't like catching knives on my bids. So I won't like bid just because it like does this. I'll like wait to see how it reacts. Does it come up? Like how strong's the buy volume? That kind of stuff. Yeah, that's what I want to see. Potentially, sometimes I'll wait, see how it reacts, and wait for like consolidation. It really just depends on the coin and also what's happening in terms of Bitcoin and Ethereum on that given day. All right, Morpheus, come and join me because it's been a while. Solo, how's it going, bro?
Yo, bro, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can.
Yeah, man, it's awesome being back on the stream. I actually want to get into the Degen stuff. I don't know. Should I go into Sonic, talk about SPX?
Morpheus, by the way, guys, is a massive Degen. So just disclaimer, huge disclaimer.
Yeah. So I want to start out with the current market environment, and with something I want to discuss in terms of sizing up. I remember reading a tweet. I can't remember exactly from whom it was. Either a Stanley Druckenmiller quote, and he said that when the opportunity arises and the market conditions are correct, he believes in going for the juggler. So I'm not advocating to take your entire position, not position like your entire altcoin portfolio or your USDT holdings and like aping into one coin. However, the market does sometimes give you these classic setups. And I quickly want to talk, I saw somebody was talking about Sonic. Now, we know Sonic post rebrand has been very disappointing. People are still farming an airdrop, but I want to show you something. And let me just share my screen here for 1 second. Cool. Let me just find it. So let me go into my Sonic trade. I want to show you something first. So have a look at the Sonic USDT versus others chart here. And you'll notice this massive run up that we had during the month of February. Now, generally speaking, when most people chart, they just have a look at the USDT pairing. But in order to trade and in order to kind of like confirm your buyers, you have to ask yourself the following. Is it performing? Yes, but more so, is it performing the entirety of the altcoin market, which others reflects, like with the exception of, I think it's the top 100 or 150 coins. So it also doesn't, Miles doesn't include ETH, others. I can't remember.
Others doesn't include ETH, it's excluding the top 10.
Okay, so perfect. So I remember I was telling Miles at a specific time, like, yo, man, I think we have a pretty decent trade here. And I started noticing that the Sonic shilling was ramping up. The market was still kind of like in a decent position. And I had a look at how Sonic was performing, and I thought to myself, okay, this is the number one performing altcoin in the market. And it had just, look, let's see if I can go on the daily here and just zoom back a little bit. You'll notice here, I've decided to start entering here as I believe it would outperform the market, and it turned out into my best trade ever. And I'll also show the evidence here. So the thing is, I always see people on YouTube say, like, we're LARPing, and this is not to show, this is just to show the amount of time and effort that the MHC community, all the traders, Miles, the entire analyst team, we put in, and we don't just talk about altcoins. We put our money where our mouth is, because the thing is, if we don't believe in it, like, why should the audience? And again, I'm not advocating to buy, but I think you put your money where your mouth is. So yeah, that's effectively how I caught Sonic. And there are now a few other trades that I'm looking at. But first, I need to show you something. I hope I can share this if the audio is working. Let me know.
I don't know if it does on. No, it's not. It doesn't work on StreamYard unless you have a Stream Deck.
Oh, I see. But anyway, one of the favorite coins right now in the market is SPX. Also hit a new all-time high yesterday. Now, the thing that
crazy. We actually called that at 50 cents for the first time.
Yeah, I know. And the thing what I love about SPX is that it's also similar to like Altcoin on Solana, this excellent beta to determine the risk appetite that's currently in the market. So we're seeing a bit of a pullback from the all-time highs. However, I've started to enter a position here right now. I'm going to show you where was this. This was, see, I'm taking a bit of a knock here, bit of an ugly dip, this one. But yeah, I actually do like this area to bid SPX here. And the thing is, why I'm looking at memes, this is a thesis that we've spoken about so many times on the channel before, is that whenever Bitcoin shows a hint of strength or performance, not relative strength, like it's pumping. What is the first sector to move post Bitcoin pump? Like it's always memes. Like we've spoken about this for almost a year right now. And I think it just become like commonplace to see like, look, if Bitcoin's up 5% per day, memes are generally flying. So I'm looking at SPX right now. And I would say my favorite trade, I also played it last night. So let me just see, it was XRP. I was looking at it. It was like a small account I was running up over the course of a week. And I had a look at the XRP chart. And I was like, okay, cool. Start entering here. It was like, this looks fantastic. And why I like XRP so much, it's the biggest meme coin in the entire market. I know I might piss off some people on the stream, so I do apologize for that. But the thing is, XRP is a multi-cycle survivor. And, we've had a look at altcoins over multiple cycles, and most, if not all, trend to zero. However, XRP has been around since 2014, and they've effectively captured this whole banking narrative and institutional narrative and potential ETF filings. And if you look at the amount of volume on XRP, like, let me just show you here. There's also a great tool to find out, like, what's hot. Because I always like to go and trade where the money flows. Well, and if I look here, XRP, that's $25 billion in the past 24 hours. You can see Doge, risk appetite's back, 11 billion. Another meme here, doing pretty well. Also, Pepe, sorry guys, I just had to have it, Altcoin. But have a look at Coin Analysts before you start, investigating your trades, because where attention goes, money flows. And the thing is, you want to be trading the most liquid instruments, because not only do they have the most volume, they also have all the attention is there. That's where you want to be trading. So for XRP, what I like right now, not only its price action, how it's holding up, but look at the other charts for XRP. And don't tell me, look at the volume on the weekly. It's beautiful. I honestly think there is a possibility to see XRP at $5 within the coming weeks, even if in a week, like if XRP holds, because you don't need that much of a movement here. And XRP right now is one of the strongest altcoins in the market. And if you compare it to how it's looking against Bitcoin, looks pretty good to me. And there's still a lot of kind of like room to grow. So I'm not calling for XRP to 10, but I am saying that it's very good to chart against, BTC and others, and to see exactly kind of like whether or not
it has actually stuck to the Money-Noodle relatively well on H1. The only thing is it had a couple like fake outs here.
Yeah.
So.
And there's just one more thing before I want to switch it back to Miles, because I don't want to spam your ears off. But we were talking about this the other day in Miles' stream, and I'll link it in the description below. So look at this period here. This was like kind of like that mini alt season we had, and Miles discussed it the other day. So we will never have an old season again like 2021. Liquidity dispersion, too many altcoins, Pump.Fun, like the arguments are legion, right? But you don't even need that massive move to perform. So we're looking at, Ethereum doing pretty well right now, ETH BTC breaking out, and others BTC on the verge of breaking out. You just need one move like this over a period of, say, 4 to 5 weeks to print 5-6x. Remember the AI agent narrative, and like everything was just popping off. So this is what I'm looking at right now. And I actually think that, with this whole last point with the kind of like the corporate FOMO and the Bitcoin treasuries and all of that, I think it's a time to be bullish right now. However, one thing, and I'm going to kick it over to Miles then, just one thing to be very cautious about is that there are always these tweets on the timeline talking about, just wait for the leverage, stop cranking it up. Like, these liquidation flushes are absolutely the best ways to make money in crypto by far. So whenever you see something like, let's say, I'm going to show you quickly on Solana, I think this is a pretty good example. So what you do is, let me find a good example here. I believe it was in November of last, So have a look here, guys. So this was just during kind of like, I believe this was on the 8th of April. I can't remember exactly what happened on the specific. Let me just go back to here. Look at that wick. So the thing is, when you're using leverage, a lot of people think that, oh, I can just use 10x like on Solana. There's no possibility of a wick like that happening. But you can see here from top to bottom, that was a 30% move downwards in a singular day on a major. So we're looking at a chart here, you think, okay, cool, it's a bit of a range, cool, and you want to start bidding. But when the leverage and when the risk in the market is, especially when you look here at the funding heat map, when it starts getting red, what I like to do is I like to put stink bids. So let's say if the price is here, maybe then put a bid down at 10% or 15%, because like when it gets really hot, you do get like, let's say, one Bitcoin flush out, 5 or 6%, $1 billion of positions liquidated. And immediately, if you get an entry here or get filled, it's money. It works. You just need to have some patience. But anyway, I'm going to leave it back over to Miles.
I do agree with what you said. I think some of the highest leverage opportunities in these uptrends is actually bidding the flushes. And that's why I said to people, I still think they have time to position, because even if you miss this like first reversal, you'll still get plenty of chances in the uptrend, because what'll happen is people like over leverage, you'll get big cascades, and then it'll kind of keep running and squeezing to the upside. So there's big opportunities there on pullbacks. All right,
Miles,
I'm going to bring...
When are we going into the Degen stuff? It's time
yeah,
for
now. I'm going to bring on Mo. All right, wait, do you want to stay up here, or do you want me to just bring Mo?
No, I'll stay up with Mo. Then we can talk.
Okay. All right, Mo. People are saying we're not Degen enough, so maybe we need you to help.
Yeah, so let me also share my screen, because I do have some plays that I want to basically...
Just FYI, just because we got to do a disclaimer now that it's getting high risk. I don't even know what coins he's going to bring up, so I'm not advocating for them. I've told him not to rug you guys, but I still am not personally advocating if they go on the screen. But I'm still interested. I mean, this is a research stream at the end of the day, so I'm still interested to just look at stuff and look at some potential narratives. But it's high risk stuff, like any crypto.
I'm not going to work anybody. I hope that people are going to make money off these costs. So let's make that disclaimer.
Steven's saying, Mo.
No. I'm not a bad guy, really.
Bring the hot stuff.
I'm a good guy. So let me share. I think it's this screen, because I don't want to mess up something. So do you guys see my screen right now?
Yeah, I can add it.
Okay, awesome. Yeah, so basically the first takeaway I had is SBET. And like you mentioned, Mouse, SBET is basically...
Oh, this isn't 2D, Gen.
Okay. It's basically...
No, I like it. It's just not... It's not as bad as I thought.
What about Annie? Now I want to see Annie with a gooning stuff. That's a good one.
Yeah, we'll get into that. Let's start with SBET.
Yeah.
Let's start with SBET.
So because I do have a lot of different plays, and I have a lot of different apps, so I'm going to try to do my best to cover everything very quickly. But basically, SBET is a meme ticker for the treasury, or at least a Nasdaq company that's basically buying a lot of ETH. They're planning to become the biggest holder of ETH, and right now I think...
Oh, I thought you meant the actual SBET, but you've brought up the meme. Okay, this is very deep.
Exactly. So it sits at a 7 million market cap, and basically the thing why this is so interesting, basically every time the company makes a buy or something like that, there's some attention going also into the meme. And moreover, which is more interesting, and you almost are not going to believe this, but the chairman, Joseph, of the official Nasdaq company is basically interacting with his meme. And also the company SharpLink itself is interacting and liking posts of this meme, which is fucking crazy, in my opinion.
Really?
So, I do have the sources, not over here, to be honest. So not in my current screen, but that's, in my opinion, just fucking crazy. And for the people who don't know Joseph, he's basically one of the co-founders of ETH. And he's the chairman of SharpLink. So the company basically going to buy a lot of royalties. They already bought, I think, around 1 billion of ETH. And the interesting thing is they're going to sell much more of their stock to buy 5 billion more of ETH or more of ETH. So that means they're going to buy just ridiculous amounts of ETH. There's going to be so much more exposure to the SBET ticker. And just imagine if ETH does 2x, how much more exposure the company is going to get. And also, of course, in my opinion, the meme is going to get some of this exposure. So what do you guys think of the first one?
It's an interesting. I actually had heard about this a couple of months ago. It's an interesting thesis. I mean, I would need to see whether the guys actually interacted.
It sits at 7 million, and it represents the company, at least in our space. It represents the company that's going to own 6 billion of ETH, and which is more interesting. So the chairman and the company, the Nasdaq company, are reacting to posts of this fucking meme. I mean, that's pretty. I think that's pretty crazy. So, of course, it can also work. So, guys, I'm just bullish on this one because I also hold some of this. And just always, how do you say that? Have decent risk management because, you never know what's going to happen. So let me just quickly go to the other stuff. The second one is Book of ETH. And basically, I like how the chart is basically behaving over here. We can clearly see that it's basically found a consolidation. At least there's a lot of volume happening over here, and it has found the floor, which is interesting to me. And the interesting part of Book of ETH is that I believe 3 of the Ethereum co-founders are following this X page. So they basically know the ticker. They also, I think Joseph has interacted with some posts.
Lubin.
Yeah, exactly. So he really likes memes. So he supports SBET, he supports this one, and also the official ship page of so basically just the ship token, of course, is also basically following this meme. And like we see, I like how this price is basically formed the bottom over here. So there's also some decent volume going on, like we can see. So for me, this is just worth the play to see how it's going to develop, especially when ETH is going to run. I mean, I think this one is definitely it's going to get some exposure. I'm almost pretty sure about that.
So actually, Joseph Lubin does follow them. It's interesting.
Yeah. Not only he, so also 2 other ETH co-founders, which is, I mean, that's a lot of confluence in my opinion, that they know this meme and they like it and they're supporting it. And not only those co-founders, but also the ETH Foundation is supporting, at least they're following the X page of this meme.
I'm just getting up the website. Oh, I accidentally removed Morpheus. This is the website. The Book of Ethereum.
Exactly.
A sacred manuscript, a celestial archive that chronicles the journey of the blockchain's most revered assets. Within its pages, you'll uncover the essence of digital sovereignty, the prophecy of decentralized finance, and the eternal wisdom woven into the Ethereum ecosystem. Wow. Wow. I don't really. What's the narrative though? Like Book of ETH. Like, what's the actual? Like, it's not a frog. It's not a dog.
There was basically, I think it was maybe a few months ago, or at least a half year ago, there was the coin Book of Pepe, basically, which I think in a few days won to more than 1 billion, and this was some derivative of that. And the nice thing is, every time that ETH moves, this also basically just goes and flies. And more interesting about this one, because I also like to basically do some analysis besides the TA. So you have several different tools that you can basically use to basically analyze the on-chain data and stuff like that. I like to use this one a lot. And it basically displays, for example, for Book of ETH, the price action in gray. And you can clearly see that the top 100 wallets are very bullish on this one. At least they're stacking up. Not only that, you also see a lot of whale interest.
This is very cool website.
Yeah. We don't have an affiliation for this, so it's free promotion. But
Nansen,
yeah. also a lot of whale interest. So not only one or two, but just actually a bunch of them are liking this one, and it's stacking up. And you see the price is basically dropping, and yeah, those whales are basically buying. So that's why there's a floor right now. And yeah, I mean, eventually, if especially ETH is going to run, I do expect that this one is going to also benefit. So let me quickly go to the next one. Yeah,
and just quickly, the point of these streams is just to look at stuff. I think
exactly.
I think the whole point of like a very important part of crypto is just curating a watch list, and I would even say it's the same for my shows. Like, I might give 10 ideas in a show, but like you might only trade one or none, but at least like you need ideas to like kick off a potential trade. So we could give you 5 memes, but then one of them you might actually look into and realize, this actually could do really well. So that's why I wanted to, and we're also going to get other guests on. They're going to shill their coins. It's like a place for us to just research stuff live. So I think it's cool. It's kind of the point of the format.
Exactly. So basically, I think also just fairly shared basically the whole SPX token, which is performing quite well. The thing is, which I do expect is because people do have a lot of, at least they made a lot of money on SPX, and they're probably going to make much more gains on SPX. I do expect some of this money to rotate into the other Murat memes. So, for example, Giga, Popcat, and the one which I personally really like a lot is Retests. And it's mainly because of this shot. So it barely moved. It found the floor. And I don't expect necessarily for this meme to go back to all-time highs. But I think it's an easy 4-5x, especially when some of the whales in SPX are going to rotate some of that money into the other Murat list memes. So yeah,
it's crazy that
yeah.
It's crazy that out of his list, like SPX was the only one to like really catch on. And then he kind of, remember he used to shill a lot more. And then he just, at one point, he just stopped and just decided to just triple down on SPX.
So I do expect him also to give at least some more eyeballs to, for example, Popcat, Giga. And I also hope, of course, this Retests one. The reason why I'm so bullish on this one is mainly because it's the number one CT code meme coin. I mean, everybody who has some alpha on CT and is basically a big account uses Milady or Retests as a profile pic. So it basically has a lot of eyeballs. I think Mouse, you should also get one of these, to be honest, because you do have solid alpha. And I mentioned I do expect maybe just a 4-5x on this because usually 100 million is a solid cycle, a solid level where people tend to take a lot of profits. It also lines up with a 0.618 fib. So and again, can it go to all-time highs? Of course, I'm just trading this one. And can it work? Of course, that can also happen. So that's it. Let's continue to the next one. It's basically Flipperbot. And it's maybe also immediately a small plug for MHC because we mentioned this one very early. I think it was around 2 million. And the whole story about this Flipperbot is that Kalashi, I'm not sure how to pronounce the name, to be honest, is working, at least, is integrating their tech into their Poly market. So basically, Kalashi is just another company like Poly market. So they just have certain events and they let users basically bet on those events with yes and no. And they're basically integrating Flipper in their how do you say that, in their resources. And they're also interacting to a lot of different posts of Flipper. And the nice thing of Flipper is that they're going to basically have their mainnet. I think the terminal is going to be the mainnet, the terminal is going to be launched in the coming days. That's also an event which maybe is going to attract some eyeballs into this one. And
so Flipper is like Poly market, but on X, right? So you can just use it by
basically, yes.
On X.
And one thing to basically get off this, so Kalashi, again, I'm not sure how to pronounce his name, is basically a serious company in New York, and they have a valuation about 1 billion, and they're fucking working together with, they're working together with a crypto coin, at least AI bot. I'm not sure how you want to name it. That sits around 6 million. So that seems to me like it's a little bit on the value, to be honest, in my opinion. So I'm hopeful for this one. And yeah, like I mentioned, in MHC we were very early at this one. I think it's around 2 million or more. Yeah, something in those lines.
Still pretty low though. Yeah,
and it's still pretty low. So let's continue. Yeah,
interesting.
So this is another Degen play. It's just another meme. It found the bottom. And the interesting thing about this one is that basically the founder of Pump.Fun, so Elon, he yesterday bought, I think it was around 0.9 SOL of this meme. And of course, that amount is just crazy low. I mean, he's a fucking billionaire, so you do expect him to put much more money into plays. But yeah, just interesting that he because he never has publicly, at least, bought something. And this is the first coin that he basically at least
was
bought
it from
something.
his doxed wallet?
Yeah, exactly.
Wow.
Yeah. So, but again, the amount is just very strange, right? Because it's not even 1 SOL, and the guy is a billionaire. So is that maybe just a sign that he's going to buy much more of this? Because he can easily just drop 1K SOL into this, and yeah, it's nothing to him, right? Because he has really serious money. So of course, like I said, it's very risky because why did he just buy 0.9 SOL? It's also maybe a strange move of him. So
What is the meme? Neat. Like, what is there any
just
anything behind it?
It's a fucking depressing meme. So basically, don't work, don't educate yourself, don't train. Yeah, and CT people like this a lot. So it's also, I think, like the South Park character, right? If some of you
not
guys
in employment, education, or training. The premier token for basement dwellers worldwide.
Yeah, it's funny. I like it, to be honest. It's really funny.
Working a job. Wait, I'm going to show you guys the website. This is pretty funny. Working a job was only worth it when you could get a decently hot wife in the 80s. Unemployment looking good here. Neat is UBI. Neat gives you your life back. Neat is freedom.
Yeah.
It is
it's a funny
careers. What's the careers page? What is this anti-work? I don't think I want to go on this publicly. I don't know what that is. Okay. Yeah. There's a neat music video. F a job.
Yeah. Well, there is a serious community behind this coin, and like I said, Elon basically knowing that this meme exists, and
how did he interact?
He purchased 0.9 SOL of this.
Oh, Elon. Yes. Sorry, I thought you said Elon, like Musk.
No, Elon, yeah, exactly.
That
so
would
the founder,
change. That would change shit, right? If it's Elon Musk. Yeah. Someone said this is the ultimate Retests coin. What's the market cap of this?
I think you guys can still see my screen, right?
No, I went off it. It's 10 mil.
Oh, really? Because I was
sharing. No, I've been flicking between the two.
Okay,
impulsively.
Great. Yeah, it's around 11 million. So yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
It pumped up a lot to 30 million.
Exactly, when he made the purchase, and now, yeah, can come down, of course, but yeah, I think your risk is pretty limited, to be honest. And yeah, is there maybe something more to come for the coming days? Who knows? But yeah, for me, I mean, a billionaire fucking interacting, and not only a billionaire, the founder of Pump.Fun is interacting with this one. He has never ever purchased another coin, and yeah, I mean, it's very left curve what I'm saying right now, so I know that, but guys, I'm at least bullish on this one, so yeah, I purchased some. I do have another coin, to be honest. It's from Elon Musk. At least Elon Musk has some interaction with it. The only thing is, I think that one of the analysts in MHC do want to make a post of that. So I'm not really sure if I should spell the juice over here or we should wait, because it's maybe not fair to MHC people.
What token is it? Oh, just text me in the private chat.
Let me just send you a WhatsApp because well, you purchased also some yesterday. Let me say it like that.
Oh, is it Annie?
No, the other one, Valentine.
Oh, Valentine. Yeah, we can talk about it because this is I already posted this yesterday. So
Yeah,
I guess
okay.
this Annie and Valentine. Let's start on Annie. What do you think of Annie? Because I bought this at this blue line here at 30. I'm
Yeah.
a fucking idiot. It went up to 86, so I was up over 2x, and then I round
Really?
trip back to break even. Because I didn't sell, and now I know Elon still posts about it.
Yeah.
But I'm still holding.
Yeah. To be honest, I'm a little bit more bullish about Valentine. And if you
Really?
maybe can quickly share my screen again.
Yeah. Why are you more bullish on Valentine?
Yeah. So basically, like I mentioned, well, all these different Annie Valentine.
I still think Annie will do well. That's why I haven't sold.
Of course. I do think it's probably, at least, I mean, the meta is very hot right now, right? But the reason why I'm in short term more bullish about Valentine than Annie.
And I hold Valentine as well, for full disclosure. I have a decent bag of this one.
Yeah.
I bought it. I aped on launch, and now I'm down.
Yeah.
so there you go.
And this is something which actually also Prannoy basically shared with me earlier this morning. So like I mentioned, basically Elon Musk is making certain AI companions, and he's naming them Annie and Valentine, stuff like that. The reason why I'm a little bit more bullish on Valentine is because he's basically teasing something for tomorrow. And also he basically said is his the right tweet? I mean, quickly.
His name will be Valentine, the protagonist, yeah.
Oh, no, it's not this one. It's this one. Yeah, he's basically teasing something for tomorrow. So he's basically saying, okay, teaser video of Valentine from Grok tomorrow and Valentine's Day in a week. Of course, he's hinting to a certain integration or something like that, right? I mean, Valentine's, for the people that don't have any love in their life, Valentine's Day is not next week.
Valentine's Day is in February.
Yeah, exactly. And I found it also very interesting when I saw this. Somehow he looks a lot like the fucking character, right? I mean, this was him in the past, and he really looks a lot like.
That's so funny.
Yeah. So he really likes his Valentine coin. I'm not saying any.
I bought it here. I bought it at 15 mil.
Yeah.
And it went up to 22, and I round trip. Bro, these on-chain, the issue with on-chain is I feel like if you don't exit quick, you just get rotated.
Yeah, you need to take your profits, definitely. Exactly, because this meta is probably within 2-3 weeks it's nowhere. At least that's what I'm expecting. Maybe
do you think, like, what if there's a counterpoint? What if it just keeps going bigger and bigger and bigger as Annie gets more popular and better?
Yeah, that's a great argument to make. So, because it's going to be something like, maybe it's going to give. I honestly, that's such a hard question to answer because
it's hard.
just nobody knows in the end how these core companions are going to play out, to be honest. But for the time being, I think these two are very interesting. So Valentine and Annie, like you mentioned, I don't own any, to be honest. So I'm mainly into Valentine. And I think if people are going to ape into this one, they're even getting a better entry than we got. So
yeah.
I actually have
getting a better entry.
If I can just add some commentary on the Valentine, Annie, and the Grok thing.
Yes.
So I saw a tweet like 3 or 4 days ago where Grok was one of the most downloaded apps in the US and I think on the App Store, and there was like one reason. So I'm not sure what mode it's called. Is it gooning mode or 18+ mode? But I don't even know what gooning means. I'm way too old for that. Anyways, so
let me go on to Grok right now. Let me go on.
Crazy, to Grok. Man. I actually, from a community, I have a fundamental thesis here that I developed over a few years in Asia. Like I'm coming up some heat here. I don't hold any, but I have a thesis.
What's your thesis?
It's a Binance-backed one and a trip to the East for many years. Oh. That's crazy, man.
What? The world is you know what's funny? Elon has come out like publicly and he's like, you know, the birth rate's such an issue. Like it's gonna like he's been so vocal about birth rates dropping, but he's like pushing like AI companions on Grok. So surely that can't help like male. I don't know.
No, absolutely not. But the thing is, like, I don't really think there's an investable proxy, a very liquid one for this. And this is going to sound kind of like very GCRS. Do you remember that thesis he made a while ago? I know like the whole GCR scandal came out, but he said that he's always going to be long degeneracy, loneliness, and all of that. And one thing there's actually a token list on Binance called Sleepless AI. So I'm not shilling on anything, but it was also, can you share your screen, Miles, or I can share on my side?
Oh, yeah, sorry.
Okay,
yeah,
cool. So I think this is very bearish for society and like, the fertility rate and all of that, and like Elon posting. But let me show you this website. I think it was like Sleepless AI. So I think this virtual girlfriend, boyfriend meta, it's not going to be short-lived. Now, whether or not it's Annie or whatever character, I think.
Oh, it's not short-lived at all.
Oh, it's
going to be a thing, unfortunately.
It's going to be a multi-billion-dollar industry if it isn't already. I noticed like in Japan and in Korea with like all these like virtual companions, and I've even read a few stories, and that's even like all crazy where people are using ChatGPT for like companionship. This one guy fell in love with his AI. Like these things are actually right now like, of an AI girlfriend. Problem is the world will go to zero, but as an investable sector, like if I have to go with the exception of crypto, robotics, artificial intelligence, if you can get exposure, but also this specific sector, and you kind of like capture the zeitgeist of a meta for the next 5 or 10 years. If you find an investable proxy backed by, I don't know, Sequoia, not Sequoia's, like Mark Andreessen or Pantera or, one of these big VCs, I actually believe we will see in the next 5 years an AI girlfriend, boyfriend unicorn valued at $1 billion within the next 5 years, if not earlier.
So in crypto, do you like Annie and Valentine as proxies in the interim?
I think, again, I would go with Annie.
But it's hard to predict.
Very interesting, and it was also the Andre Karpathy thing, like, and there will be the derivatives and the spin-offs and all of that. But I like to bet on the first mover. I don't have all the position right now, but it's just a very CT thing. It's very kind of like Milady type vibes here. And if you remember, like in 2021, there was also like an anime run, and many coins went to like billions, and it hasn't run since then. So like, in a season where anything pumps, like this shit pumps the hardest because it has. It's just fucking ridiculous. That's why, and it's funny and people laugh, and it's I don't know, like it's not good for society at all. I think it's very bad, and but as an investment, not an investment, as a Degen play. Disclosure, I think it can do some numbers, especially at 37 million. I mean, I've seen shit run to multi-billions with less than this. So yeah, that's my opinion.
Yeah, well, disclosure again, I hold some Valentine, and Valentine's #1 now on trending, and I hold Annie. So let's see what happens. High risk stuff. I wanted to just answer a couple quick questions. Someone asks what your X accounts are. I don't think you guys have public X's, right? Well, Morpheus might.
Yeah, we do. I can add mine.
We can add them to the bottom of the description.
Cool.
If you guys are interested. Someone said there are 2 Valentines, one 10 mil and one 1.4. Yes, but there are bigger players in the 10 mil one, and I think that if it runs, that'll be the runner, and that's the one that's trending. So you want to be where the big players are, like big accounts, etc. I've seen are all shilling this one, not the other one.
Yeah, also Bonkai basically supporting this one, and I mean you're not going to fade Bonkai, right? So
they need Discord channels. Morpheus posts a little bit in the.
I used to post a lot, but like after like I actually took a few months off training and I had a pretty good week. But I'm a breakout trader, and like I need the conditions to be like super bullish. So I saw somebody earlier was calling me a gambler. yes and no. But yeah, no, I'm definitely, there are a few fundamental plays I like right now. And as Miles said in his previous stream, the thing is, look at where the attention is, look at where the money is going to. And yeah, just bid the winners.
Bro, I'm so glad I sold my pump today, and I'm glad I told the Discord before it was too late and the Telegram.
I'm not sure what's happening there. Like, that's crazy. Like, I mean, like, I played it on launch, and I was like,
I'm so happy I sold.
Do you remember my ridiculous comments? Do you still have it, like a 72 hours one, like with my?
Yeah. You said 72 hours, 10 billion. So
yeah, I was wrong on that one. So yeah,
and I said multi-week, so I still have a chance, but it's not looking good. Not looking good. How long will these streams go for? Not that much longer. In fact, I want to do a quick mode. Do you have any more alpha? Because I want to do a quick section that I had planned on TGs.
No, that's it basically from my side.
And then I've got one more coin. Someone's asking about Ava AI. I actually like it. I don't own any, but I do. Do you guys own any Ava AI? Do you like it? Because I know Paradise hit an insane trade on this. Where is it? This is in MHC. Where was it? But yeah, do you guys know much about Ava AI? No?
Yeah, I think it's mainly basically receiving a lot of attention because a lot of different AI agents like Griffin are heating up a bit. So I think the whole AI agent narrative is showing some strength, and yeah, Paradise nailed this one.
Yeah, insane. We'll leave a link in the description to Mars High Club on the YouTube side if anyone wants to come and be a part of the amazing community we have there. But Paradise hit a very good trade on this. I think it's in one of my watch lists. It's actually down 20%. If this keeps dipping, I might actually look at buying some. I know a couple of big creators who I'm friends with who are very bullish on this, so I might potentially look at adding. But I first wanted to go through some TGs. So I discussed before the black fractal. So I just wanted to give you a few TGs to look out for. Now, I'm not saying ape day one. That's not what I'm saying. But these are things that I have on my watch list because remember when the market ramps up, it's reflexive. So what'll happen is new launches will get more and more traction and attention. So someone just said, "Can you please make the Mars High Club free?" That group costs me probably, I don't know how much a month, a lot to run per month. So it could never be free. Even if I wanted to make it free, I'd be losing like a lot of money a month to run it because we have like 10 staff in there and they all get paid very well. Otherwise, Paradise was a professional trader. So if I'm not paying him, I won't tell you exactly what I'm paying him, but if I wasn't paying him extremely handsomely, why would he chart in the Discord, So, as much as he does, he might chart as a friend, but he's charting like all day and answering questions all day. Same as Fabian, same as the other guys. So it could never be free. It's too expensive and too good, in my opinion, to be free. And it's a business at the end of the day as well. Like, we provide great alpha, but just like any other service, it costs money. If you want free stuff, we have a free Telegram where I post daily market updates. We have YouTube's free, Twitter's free. So we do a good job at covering all our platforms. But Mars High Club is a product. It's more than just calls. It's analysis, AMAs, indicators, alerts. We have a new investment platform launching. We have a trading school. I don't know if you guys know this, but we literally have a trading school where we have all these modules. So we've released 3 lessons. So these are rolling out every week. So it's like a fully fledged product. But where was I going? Oh yeah, going back to the whole TG thing. So don't ape these on launch, but definitely look for the fractals, and some of these could do quite well. I'll retouch on them when they launch once we get some price action. But here are a few I'm looking out for. One is Rainmaker. We'll speak about AI before. They're already a revenue generating product. This is one that I actually invested in. Some of these I've invested in prior in their seed rounds, so it's been a while. But this one's launching very soon. I'll actually go into my notes and get you the exact dates if I can reveal them. I think 22nd of July. So this is in 4 days. So keep your eye on this. Like Grass, it's about training. So AI model training. But the very cool thing that you're going to be able to do is actually download the Rainmaker app on your phone and use that to contribute to the network and earn from it. So I think it's very cool using mobile. And the founder's a great guy. He's very, very experienced in the space, and he's extremely legit as well. So yeah, keep your eye on that as an upcoming AI project. Should list on some exchanges as well. Another one that's kind of AI, it's technically not, but it's definitely related, is I always mess up this pronunciation, but Naurus, I think that's how you pronounce it, Naurus. It's a decentralized post-quantum infrastructure protocol. So they're actually building infrastructure to be anti-quantum, which is quite interesting with where AI development's going, obviously where Bitcoin's going. Anti-quantum, I think, is going to become a narrative. So even, I mean, obviously there's the, tangible impact anti-quantum tech can have. But then there's also the whole narrative behind it as it starts generating more hype. It's kind of like the AGI thing, right? As you get into it, the narrative like builds more attention and mindshare. So I'd keep my eye on this. TG is on the well, it's not confirmed yet, so I shouldn't say, but it's within a few weeks. So just put this. Basically, what you can do is just add. This is a high leverage tip for you guys. Create a on X. Dedicated X list that you have on X Pro where you add upcoming launches. So have existing projects and then have upcoming launches, and then you'll never miss a launch because once a day you can just scroll through your project list. So, oh, look, we're number 1 on X, but it's my page, so obviously it's going to favor me. But yeah, this one I keep my eye on. Anti-quantum, I think, is a big narrative. And the thing is, it can only be done on Web3. So I think decentralization is the perfect place to build like these trustless systems. So that's why it's quite interesting. That's been on my radar for a long time, but getting closer now. Another one that's been on my radar for a long time is Camp Network. So this is a layer 1 AI blockchain. They have big backers: Maven, OKX, Blockchain Cap, TrueBridge. I think this one's going to be very good. So I think Camp Network is one adding to your list, one worth adding to your list. They're going to be, I think, one of the biggest AI L1s, and I haven't really seen many good, like, proper AI L1s actually launch. I know, like, Nia kind of rebranded, you've kind of got ICP, but, like, no one's really nailed the narrative, and I think these guys are super smart and could be the first to do so. So I'm obviously, price action on launch will do what it does. So I can't tell you exactly what it'll do in terms of price on launch. It depends on where it launches, and if it's really low, that could be an opportunity. If it's too high, you might need to wait for a cooldown. But this one will be within the coming months, so weeks or months. So keep your eye on that. And then the last one's kind of an interesting one. This is Multibank. If you guys don't know who Multibank is, they are the world's largest derivatives broker. So in the TradFi world, they have over, I think, $35 billion in volume generated. And they're entering crypto for the first time. And this token is going to be their governance token. That's going to have, I think, around 400 million in their buyback and burn plan over 4 years. So they're going to be supporting this token quite heavily. Obviously, they've realized that launching a token has many, many, many benefits, mostly just in terms of aligning and incentivizing community members. That's why many of the exchanges, have launched their token and made it available for like staking pools and launch pools, etc. So this is going to be an interesting part of their ecosystem, which is already a real thing. Like Multibank's absolutely huge. You guys might know them if you've been in more traditional markets. But yeah, world's largest derivative broker launching a crypto token. Because this is not really like a hot narrative in crypto, it actually could launch unders. And if that's the case, I'll probably be scooping up liquid. So let's see what happens. Probably spot. But I don't know what markets it's going to launch on. So remember, all this is for the future. They're TGing in 4 days, so not very long now. So just wanted to put a few on your radar because it's I think a very wise thing to do in this market is to have an idea of the new launches that are coming, because we've just had the Pump launch, and I think there's going to be a lot of focus on new launches and opportunities there as those kind of fractals play out, especially if they have airdrops. If you're not in the pre-sale, how would you play them? I would play the fractal as I discussed. Like, I'll just go over it again really briefly. Typically, new launches work like this. They'll have a big wick on day one. They'll consolidate. They'll find a floor. They might even bleed out. Like, some will just go like this so you don't buy. What you want to wait for is like a level where it respects. So, every time it goes into this zone, it bounces, it respects, it finds a floor. You just bid along this floor and then you set a stop below. That is one way to go once a coin finds a floor. Another way to go is wait for like range to compress, draw a range high, and wait for a breakout. So that way you're not speculating on a future breakout, you're actually getting in once momentum has flipped. And momentum flipping is a sign that selling's out. And the biggest risk with new launches is that there's going to be sell pressure early on, which suppresses price. So you can kind of get that out of the way by waiting for an uptrend. Like SAHARA's chart as well, you can wait for like a deviation reclaim. So say this is like a range low forming, it can go down, deviate, and then on the reclaim and like the flip of the noodle, let's say it sweeps in across like this, that could be an opportunity as well to get in on like this reversal here of the, you know, a noodle flip and a range low flip. So there's a few things, there's a few ways to play it, but generally it's about waiting for enough data for a range to establish on day one. Here's the caveat though. Sometimes like black, I'll just take an early position, usually 1/3 of my ideal position, if I think the market cap's unders. Like let's say Rainmaker launches at a 25 mil market cap, like or FDV, like it won't, but let's say it launches really low. Like I'll be very interested in buying, obviously, because it's super low. So I'll probably just take a position up front. Whereas if something launches super high, I'll wait for it to form a range and become a bit more reasonable in terms of pricing. So what you can do, here's a bit of a hot tip, is actually go into Crypto Rank and look at where they actually raised. So I'll see, it's not always public. Sometimes you need to hunt for this information on X, but often you can see on Crypto Rank where and what price they raised for. So the original, see, they actually had Jump Capital, Cypher Capital leading in 2024. I don't know if this will have the valuation though. Let me see if it does. So sometimes it does. $7.5 million round. Does it say the valuation? $10 million in funding. I don't think it says evaluation. So this is where sometimes you need to hunt for like the latest rounds and get the data. Here you actually have the token sale price. So that's 33 cents, 35 cent IDO. So you can go and look through all of these on Crypto Rank and see like how much they raised and when they raised and stuff like that. And do a bit of digging. You could even use Grok. We have AI now, so go use Super Grok and ask it to crawl through Twitter and get you raise data or tokenomics if you can't source it. Usually that's a good way to find things, but yeah, that's how I would go about looking at those new launches. What do I think of World Liberty? Well, pre-market was suggesting like a 20 bill implied FDV, which is very high, but I'm pretty bullish on it overall. Like I think the whole ecosystem will do well because I mean Trump is going to be actively supporting this, billions of dollars in stablecoin liquidity. It'll be quite an interesting play. Basically, what they're building, if you don't know, is they're an app that's actually, you know, it's going to look like a bank. So you know, you could store money there, have stable coins there, backed by the Trump family, but the back end is going to be completely on the blockchain. So it's quite interesting, right? Because pretty much their whole big play, like my opinion behind Trump's motives, is he wants US dollar security. And the best way to have that is to have, you know, people interacting with it all over the globe. And to do that, they need to give people the rails to own USD. Because if you're in Nigeria, like it's hard, like you can own USDT, but it's hard to like, you know, find a way to on-ramp, get USD. You know, you can't open a bank account, can't open a US bank account without a US passport or an LLC. So like a lot of people are just priced out of the market. So it makes sense from his perspective to have an app where people can actually, you know, onboard to USD through USD1, which is their new stablecoin, which is going to be massive, and you know have a bit of trust because it's actually backed by the US government. So it's essentially as good as a bank, right? In that respect. I don't know like the insurance protocols and stuff like that, but yeah, it's an interesting concept. So I think it'll do well for that reason. But I don't know if I'd ape pre-market. I'd probably wait till it launches, and you know there could be some selling, and then you can buy in stuff like that. Well, guys, we're gonna wrap up soon. Do you guys have anything else to say, or is that it on your side as well? Any comments? No,
nothing from my side, at least.
All right. Cool. Richard's just tuning in. He's an MHC member, but we're heading off because it's been almost 2 hours and I don't want to scare off maybe the people that watch the next version, but I know there's a lot more questions, but the nature of these streams is that we're not going to be able to answer them all. In that MHC AMAs, I'd probably do a better job at that because yeah, there's less people, so it's easy for me to answer every question. So yeah, for these ones, it'll be a bit harder, but it's good to do the first live again. Been a while since I did a live, so hopefully you guys enjoyed. And I might do another live stream on Sunday. I actually want Sundays to be the day I do this because I know Friday morning's weird. Like a lot of people have work and stuff. So Sunday afternoon would probably be perfect. Sunday morning US. So that's probably when the next one will be. Thanks for joining, guys. I'll see you in the next one. Have a lovely rest of your day. I'll leave resources in the description as usual. See you later. Peace out.